Move over, Prince Harry. Local couples are planning their own royal weddings.
And Groom and Grub brings a modern twist to the corner barbershop while raising awareness on men's health.
All of that, plus the top stories from the news rundown, are straight ahead on this edition of We Are Washington.
Welcome to We Are Washington. Coming up, as anticipation builds for the upcoming royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, engaged couples closer to home flock to the convention center to plan their own unforgettable day. We'll bring you to the Washington Wedding Experience to find out all the latest trends, and here's a hint. It's all about the sparkle.
I bet it is. And Groom and Grub is a different approach to getting men to open up about a vital health issue, and it's taking the local barbershop to a whole new level. We'll bring you there later in the show, but first, here's the news rundown. 2018 is officially the year of the Anacostia in the district. To kick off the year-long celebration of the Anacostia River, Mayor Bowser announced major investments to protect Kingman and Heritage Islands. The islands are considered hidden gems in the district and represent a unique natural space in the heart of the city. Mayor Bowser announced a $4.7 million investment toward educational and recreational improvements on the islands.
I want to designate today portions of Kingman and Heritage Islands, where we are, as a state conservation area. And with that, we will establish in the District of Columbia the southern portion of Kingman Island as a critical wildlife area.
I think what a centennial does is it wakes us up from our historical amnesia that sets in over time. So, Mayor, what you've done is you helped to wake us up from this historical amnesia by designating this critical area that we have right here to wake us up to the importance of the Anacostia River.
Kingman and Heritage Islands were formed by dredging the Anacostia over 100 years ago. The new investment will support outdoor classrooms, bathrooms, and pathways for visitors. 50 years after his assassination, Washingtonians honored the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with acts of service in the community.
From volunteering at soup kitchens to beautifying schools and marching in the parade, residents found a number of different ways to celebrate MLK Day in the district. Mayor Muriel Bowser kicked off the 12th annual MLK Peace Walk and Parade in Southeast, which began in 1979. She also joined nearly 1,000 residents at the City Year MLK Day of Service pep rally at Friendship Public Charter School. And for many civil rights leaders, the day began at the National Action Network's 2018 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day breakfast at the Mayflower Hotel.
We can win victories in our neighborhood. We can win victories in our school. We can win victories in our places of worship. Some of us will win victories in our cities. Some may win victories in our states. Some may even win victories in our nation. And yet others may win victories in our world. What those words basically mean are, be ashamed to die until you have done a little something to make the world in which we live in a little better than it was when you arrived.
The federal government shutdown may have been short-lived, but D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser made it clear that D.C. stays open for business. Despite Congress approving the district's budget, the D.C. government is not impacted when the federal government closes thanks to certain protections, which allow local operations to continue. As part of D.C.'s plan to remain open, Mayor Bowser made it clear D.C. agencies would step in when possible and necessary to ensure vital services continue.
Regardless of whether or not the federal government shuts down, D.C. government will be open for business. And in fact, I've called on my agencies where we are able to step in for the federal government. So we will step in and ensure that litter and trash are picked up along the National Mall so that we can continue to keep the nation's front yard clean of debris.
1968 was a pivotal year in the history of Washington, D.C.
To commemorate the 50th anniversary of this momentous year, the National Building Museum presented 1968, Shaping the District. The exhibit was a chance to explore DC as it was in 1968 through music, talks, tours, and hands-on activities. Among the workshops, Riot or Write It explored how artists break cycles of violence.
As a historian, I think it's really interesting to look back at that time. It's a time of transition, certainly all over the country, when people were trying to understand what's happening. Did they really understand it as they're looking into it? You know, I don't know, but they were trying. And what we're looking at here is a particular community policing project, and they were trying a lot of different things. They understood that community police relations weren't great in African American neighborhoods in DC, and they were trying to figure out ways to solve that.
For more information about ongoing events, visit DC1968project.com.
Where do we go from here? That was the theme of a panel discussion on the music that's synonymous with DC. Big Tony and Anwan Big G Glover were among the panelists at the Rise Demonstration Center who came together as part of an MLK Day celebration to discuss elevating and preserving go-go music.
When Backyard came in, we structured a sound and we had our own sound. So we sound like nobody. But we followed Junkyard as a little kid, me on my bike, riding down 19th and following Junkyard around the whole city. So I noticed and fell in love with the sound and still love the sound to the day.
The D.C. Office of Attorney General is training students on how to protect themselves from human trafficking. The workshop is part of a series of events marking January's Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Attorney General Karl Racine announced new resources to fight trafficking, including workshops to educate judges, attorneys, and social workers on how to identify and prevent trafficking. For more information, visit oag.dc.gov.
The district hosted an institutional investor conference at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. Senior officials from various agencies, including DC Water, the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, and the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, presented overviews of their credits, capital improvement programs, and debt issuances. The conference is aimed at bringing together experts in Washington's ever-changing investment landscape.
The highly anticipated entertainment and sports arena at St. Elizabeth's East Campus has reached its final construction height. Mayor Bowser celebrated the topping out of the state-of-the-art facility, which will be home to the Washington Mystics and the official practice facility for the Wizards. The 4,200-seat arena has already created 600 construction jobs and is expected to create another 300 permanent jobs once completed. The new arena is scheduled to open in September.
The district is on the short list of 20 possible locations for Amazon's second headquarters in North America. Northern Virginia and Montgomery County also made the cut in the high-profile competition known as HQ2. If selected, the district would see an estimated 50,000 new high-paying jobs. Mayor Bowser is making the case for Washington with the campaign #ObviouslyDC, which promotes all the great reasons that DC is the best fit for Amazon.
We said a few months ago that we felt very strongly that we hit all the criteria that Amazon was seeking, having a livable and walkable community and having very talented people that could be in the Amazon workforce, but also having a city that their employees would be able to enjoy schools and have safe neighborhoods and access to arts and culture. So we are going to be looking forward to having those more detailed discussions.
Amazon says it expects to make a decision sometime in 2018. So many things happening this week, but of course we have a quick minute to just recap some of the top items that we discussed. And the first thing I want to talk about is the Kingman Island conservation announcement. This obviously just goes further in reinforcing the fact that DC is committed to the environmental issues and being mindful of sustainability going forward. And Kingman Island, like we mentioned, is a beautiful place, a great gem in the middle of the city that you wouldn't expect to find.
It really is. I mean, I have to say, living here more than a couple of decades, I went there recently, for the first time, and I was so surprised. So it's going to be great that more residents will get out there and enjoy. It's really like you're someplace completely different and really lovely especially for dogs too.
Absolutely. And we talked about the Year of the Anacostia. We guarantee you're going to be hearing more about the Year of the Anacostia and some programs behind that on this show, so look for that.
Another exciting bit about the milestone at the Sports and Entertainment Arena. It's very exciting to see that moving along on schedule. And I think people are very excited because you can imagine what that's going to do for that area,
Right.
all the business it's going to attract, and also great to see that the Washington Mystics will have such a nice home. So hopefully everybody will be going out to see them as well.
It will be. It'll be a lot of fun, and you know, DC is a sports city, and we love our sports teams, obviously.
Of
So
course.
that's just another added piece to you know, some of the great things that we have going on in sports in the district already. And finally, just want to talk about the Amazon list HQ2. Now that list was released, and they filed it down from I think around 240 or so. We have a really good chance of them ending up here, and I think that you know, we've made our case through that hashtag obviously DC campaign to say Amazon belongs here.
Definitely, it says a lot about this region.
Well, coming up, from colorful bridal gowns to cakes with edible bubbles, we'll bring you the hottest trends in weddings.
And later in the show, find out how an area business is raising awareness among men and issues vital to their health. Welcome back to We Are Washington. As everyone waits to see the fashion trends set by the upcoming royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, we set out to find the trends being set here at home by local couples planning their own big day.
That's right. The wedding experience at the Washington Convention Center was the first stop for many local lovebirds looking for the hottest trends and top wedding hacks. Here it is.
What are the things that you're most focused on when you think about your wedding?
Venue is very important to me, and also food. And I just want my family and friends to have fun.
Going to the chapel and where God...
Sisters, both engaged. What is your biggest fear when thinking about your wedding?
Probably what I'm most scared about is the weather. Like, please don't let it rain. So that's probably my biggest fear.
What about you? What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear, I plan on having it outdoors as well. So I'd probably just say bees.
Let me tell you, my biggest fear is having two daughters getting married at the same time.
I want all my guests to have a really good time and just celebrate love.
So you don't sound like a bridezilla.
No, I don't want to be a bridezilla.
So this is not too bad.
No, this is beautiful.
Do you see yourself making your getaway in a limo like this?
I most certainly do. The only way of making a getaway.
What are you seeing as far as trends for brides?
And so what we're seeing with brides this year is a lot more experimenting with color. So they're not just sticking to the whites and the ivories, but they're going more into the champagnes and the blushes and even blue. And we're also seeing a lot of brides wanting lace and 3D design, something a little bit different, something that pops, something that gives that wow factor.
What are you looking forward to seeing as far as the fashion at the royal wedding?
So I'm really excited about the royal wedding. I think Meghan will opt for something very simplistic, very chic, very elegant, and also I think all the wedding guests themselves will maybe try something a little bit new. I think I love the British style with the headwear and all the hats that we'll get to see at the royal wedding.
What are some of the trends you're seeing among couples about the first dance?
I think one of the biggest things is just the music. A lot of the couples are not going so traditional anymore. They're really getting into something that's slow and romantic when they first get started, and then they really break into something that's wild and crazy. It's something that the guests at weddings are starting to get used to waiting to see, okay, here comes the show.
We do, on a slow year, we do about 80 weddings. A busy year, I think last year we did 145.
What are some of the mistakes that brides and grooms are afraid of happening at their wedding?
I think the biggest pitfall is they underestimate the expense. It's a big party. Everybody just wants to have a good time. And they really underestimate how much money this party costs.
It sounds like that's when you say no cash bar.
Yeah, but you know, those are the most trying weddings, the ones that don't have a bar.
So they want some drinks.
Yeah, in general, they want for drinks. Open bar, it's a great time.
And it makes your job a little bit easier to get people on the dance floor, I assume?
It does.
What's like a song that's like the guaranteed song that usually never fails to get people out on the dance floor?
I say a hit all to be all, and most DJs and people will go with it is September by Earth, Wind & Fire. It is just, I don't even know what the song is about. I played it so many times.
The trend is going over to something fun. They've even come out with bubbles now on cakes that are made out of icing. The rhinestones have come in. They're very big right now. It used to be pearls, and now it's all rhinestones.
So people want some sparkle on their cake.
Sparkle all over their wedding. Yeah.
What is your feeling about this tradition where the groom like pushes the cake in the face of the bride? What do you think of that?
At all. I do not like it at all.
I'm with you. Okay, so any grooms that are listening, do not do that.
Don't do
no.
Doesn't that make you just want to go to a wedding?
It
Seeing
does.
all of that?
I'm missing out on so much because there's edible bubbles.
Exactly, yeah.
Edible cake bubbles,
Have
who
you been
knew?
to a wedding with edible bubbles?
Never.
Not yet, okay.
It sounds like an extravagance. Is it?
It is an extravagance.
High-ticket item?
Speaking of extravagances, we want to just briefly mention, we found out just kind of roughly how much you'll pay for a wedding in different cities.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I was watching all of these things you were experiencing at
Right.
the wedding experience.
And you're thinking, yeah, you're running a tab in your head.
Right. All I could think of was, they're showing you all the different things that you can have and all the different experiences that you can have at your wedding. But what does it cost?
Yeah, the bottom line. Well, people shouldn't be startled by this, but the average wedding in the district is going to run around $44,000.
The average.
The average.
Some people are paying a lot more than that. I guess,
Yeah,
too, right?
well, of course, but if that makes you, feel kind of nervous,
Right.
just think about if you're planning a wedding in Manhattan, $88,000. That's about where you're looking. So then it seems like you get a bargain if you're in DC.
Right.
Now, if you really want a bargain, you go to Mississippi.
And Mississippi, I assume, was the first on the list in terms of
Exactly.
cost.
Bargain weddings, you're paying about $12,000.
That's
Not too
a
shabby.
big that's a big
That's
jump.
a big difference, yeah.
Coming up after the break, find out how the barbershop is getting men focused on their health. Where can you find a conversation more open and honest than inside your local barbershop? That's the idea inspiring an area grooming business to bring people together along with food and music to start a conversation centered on something vital, your health. A close shave, a fresh cut, and good conversation. These are the familiar sounds of the barbershop.
This is the perfect place for that. First of all, you see how many men showed up today.
At Uppercuts Gentlemen Grooming, they're focusing their Groom and Grub event on a conversation that could save lives.
Can it be treated? Yes, it can. Should you get screened? Yes.
We were focusing on prostate cancer awareness and trying to bring education to the community to let everyone know how it really affects the African American men and men in particular.
The relaxed, open feel at the barbershop lends itself to a healthy dialogue.
When men come to the barbershop, they share things oftentimes with their barber that they don't share with their wives, with their husbands, or with their partners. So this is the perfect place for that to happen, for that conversation to begin.
Well, it's a perfect place. Everyone knows that, your hairdresser knows more than anybody.
Patrons are enjoying the grub and taking home useful information on a health issue impacting everyone.
Who has a brother? Who has a husband? Who has an uncle? Who has a father? Anyone who has a man in their family or a friend, it affects them.
The American Cancer Society says prostate cancer is the second most common kind of cancer. 1 in 8 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed. Those numbers are even higher among African Americans.
If you have a family member with the diagnosis of prostate cancer, the younger you are, you need to be screened.
Being here in support of prostate cancer awareness is something very important, especially as me as a black man. I see so many of my brothers and stuff not getting tested and not, surviving something that's very survivable.
And that is the take-home message. With prostate cancer very treatable and survivable, early detection saves lives. And that impacts both men and women alike.
Why do you get screened? Because we need you. And you should want to be here for the women in your lives as long as possible.
I lost my dad to prostate cancer, so I cannot say it enough to men, especially men of color, black men. know your numbers, take the test. It's important to know exactly where you stand.
An event like this really, interesting, unique way to start a conversation, because we know that sometimes, especially regarding topics like this, starting the conversation, getting people to think about it, getting people to talk about it,
it's not easy.
The hardest thing, right?
Right.
And
Make it a fun event. It's it's
Right.
not a time to be stressed out. It's a time to enjoy yourself, get some important information,
Yes.
and get people to get checked out sooner.
And that's why I love this idea.
That's all we have for this show, but we do have time for one last thing.
We have a great one last thing today. We don't get many visitors.
Sadly, sad but true.
Some, we'll get a studio audience once in a while, right? No, but today we were very lucky because we have on hand with us 20 very smart young women who are here from KIPP DC, and they're focused on science, technology, engineering, and math. Here they are. Say hello. And, it's very nice to have them in here in the studio to check out what's going on with the show today.
And so well behaved and polite. Always great to see young women who are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. It's just the best. And maybe even some who are interested in something much easier, say television.
Engineer or in television.
Maybe we could change that STEM to science, television, engineering, and math. Yes.
I like that, definitely. That is all the time that we have for today, but we'd like to remind you to check out all of our programming here at the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. Go to YouTube and search Entertain DC. And we're also, as you know, on HD Radio, DC Radio.
Yes, very exciting.
96.3 HD4, so check that out.
See you next time.